Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second in our series of webinar interviews where we kind of talk to interesting people about interesting things. And we've got a topic that's really interesting today and very timely, I think, which is financial health and well-being. And so we do talk about mental and physical health sort of being very pivotal to our own personal well-beings, I guess, especially right now, given the situation that we're in and continue to sort of find ourselves in. But I think closely aligned to this, and sometimes maybe a little bit overlooked until very recently, is, of course, our own financial health and well-being. And I've got two great guests today to provide us a bit of clarity on this topic. So without further ado, I have great pleasure in speaking to both Sarah Steele, who is the owner of Better with Money, which provides financial education in the workplace to basically help people better control their personal finances and to reduce their money worries and stress. And so welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
And also joining us, I have Simon Bocker. And Simon is the founder of Pay Captain, which is a payroll solution that provides financial management functions that specifically help users to better manage their own personal finances. So welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So I'm just going to start off with a couple of questions, really, and I guess the first one potentially is to you, Sarah, because you provide educational sessions on this topic of financial well-being. So I guess perhaps could you give us some sort of clarity on what defines financial well-being, and importantly, because we do hear research that younger people who are just starting out might be most affected by the current situation, but then we also hear that people who might be in more established jobs, who may be earning more money but effectively have more bills and mortgages, how's it affecting those generations, or is it even a thing?
Okay, let me start with the first one and I'll go on to second. So I'll start off by defining financial well-being. I mean, essentially, financial well-being is about feeling in control of our money and having enough money to do the things that we really want to do, not worrying about how we're going to cope with unexpected costs, but really feeling confident that we've got the resilience financially for whatever life is going to throw at us. And I think for me personally, financial well-being is about really having the freedom to make the choices that allow me to have the life that I want to have. If I think about that right now, it's just being able to pay the bills, maybe having the occasional dinner out with friends when we can, and enjoying nice holidays. Nice. Yeah, wouldn't it? But we can dream. But and having nice holidays with my family just to make work all the more worthwhile. But if I think forward, if I roll forward, then I think the financial freedom for me will be being able to travel and see more of the world. The problem comes when we don't have enough to do the things that we want to do. When we struggle to start paying bills. And this is really when money can start to cause worry and stress and start to affect other parts of our life, things like relationships and our ability to do our job properly. And that is why financial well-being is actually so important. So that's really it. Financial well-being is just about really having enough to do what we want to do. And the part about the generational bias is really interesting because, as you say, we are often led to believe that as we become older, we become wiser and we somehow become more financially savvy. But there is plenty of research that shows that a higher earner is just as likely to have the same level of money worries as those earning less, because after all, we all tend to live to our means. Yeah. And the evidence that we've seen during the webinars that we've held this year have definitely supported that. I mean, if I can just give you a couple of examples. we developed a session all about starting out right, which originally was, we thought was really aimed at people at the beginning of their careers, helping them to read a pay slip, understand how your tax code works, income tax rates, those sorts of things. But what we actually found in practice was it was the people managers that have been working for 20 odd years that were just as in need of that information as actually the younger employers who were starting out. And I think a really pivotal point here is that, the heartache caused by debt certainly doesn't confine itself to any one generation. Someone who's further on in their career with a good job and salary is just as likely to have unmanageable debt as that younger person. And if I think about why that is, it's hardly surprising, because most of us didn't get financial education in school. And our parents probably didn't talk to us about it either. We were never taught about money, how to budget, what credit cards are, or that importance of financial well-being. I mean, I think, you probably did the same as me. We just kind of muddled through and learned as we went. And as a result, there isn't that bias. So we always recommend that employers allow employees to choose which financial education sessions are relevant to them, rather than it being predetermined by age or gender or role.
Thank you. That's really interesting, because like you say, we all live to our means, and I think you're absolutely right, Sarah. I never had a course in this, and there were plenty of times during the couple of recessions that I've been through where effectively it is scary and you don't quite know. And also when I first started out in work, I'd get to the 15th of the month and go, oh my God, we're only halfway through, and you kind of learn to be better, but it takes time, which I think is really interesting. And of course, at the moment, some of us are saving more, right, at the moment, because we can't do anything that we'd like to do. We're not traveling into London. But, I think what's important is that that's really stuff that we've got to save for a rainy day, because there could be, some more financial impact to come. And obviously, if you're in a nice position to do that, that's great. But some aren't, which is very worrying. So Simon, just to you then. So bearing in mind what Sarah said there, which was interesting, you've made financial well-being like the central flagship element of the pay capting payroll software. So I suppose, could you tell us a little bit more about the role that potentially you see technology in financial well-being? What's really interesting is that, aside from science and our wonderful NHS, arguably technology has become maybe the third saviour of this pandemic.
Well, just on that one specifically, I don't know if it's the saviour, but we've certainly realised that we can't really live without it. So whether that's Zoom, team meetings, using QR codes that so many people hadn't used before this pandemic, there's technology is just all over the place now, and we really need our internet connection, our Netflix, our PCs and tablets to do homeschooling on. So technology is sort of so critical now, and I think people are using it more because of this. And really, back up the first part about why Pay Captain has embraced financial well-being is because there is a real opportunity for technology to support financial well-being. But I do actually also agree a lot with what Sarah's just been saying around education. It's so important. You can't really manage your money well if you haven't really got the skills or the know-how on how to do it. And of course, there's lots of lucky people that have been on Sarah's brilliant webinars and training sessions, but there's still so many people out there that haven't had any experience or guidance on how to do that. And that's why I thought having financial well-being built into a payroll solution could be really beneficial. So whether that's making it multi-language, maybe it's about having help icons around the tax code fields, explaining information about your pension, and demystifying all of that awful language that is surrounded about pension contributions, making it easy to save money, making it easy to be in control of your money. And I felt that having the technology built in with the payroll solution to enable people to be in control and have visibility about their money would be a good thing, which is why we made pay caps.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, and I like that point, Simon, that you talk about, because I don't even pretend to understand half the stuff that I might have to do in a tax return, or some of the legislation or ramifications. And I think, you know, a lot of that is there in your payroll, but it's not explained effectively. And I think, you know, if a solution can help that, educate that person, then it is making them more financially or aware of how their salary is dictated and partitioned. So, okay, let's talk about the potential, like, poor or ill effects of poor financial well-being, because, you know, we've all read research that, you know, poor financial well-being can increase stress and lost sleep and strain your relationships and potentially, you know, cause some work absences, and then even in the worst case scenarios actually lead to potentially some elements of depression. Sarah, are you kind of seeing this in the work that you do or the people that you meet? Are you seeing those effects?
Yeah, definitely, Simon. I mean, there's no doubt that through the questions that we're being asked during the sessions that we run, that, you know, where people are struggling with financial worries, they really need the confidence and a push to reach out and ask for that help. It was interesting. I was speaking to somebody at the Money Advice Service last week, and they said that on average, they find that people struggle for 2 years with debt or money worries before they actually ask for help. And even then, only 1 in 10 people actually do help do ask for the help that they need. But when they do, more than 3/4 of them, you know, when asked, say that it did actually, those money worries started to affect their physical and their mental health. You know, there is definitely a direct correlation between poor financial health and the well-being and how we feel about life.
So is that a case of people too proud, or maybe don't know where to go, or maybe just do what I tend to do, is try and not worry about it until it actually becomes a real problem, and then by that time it's kind of manifested itself a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of those elements coming into it. A lot of the time it's embarrassment. You know, people feel as if they should know what they're doing with money, or because of the job that they do. You know, I was speaking to a firm of accountants the other day, and someone said, I haven't reached out because I'm an accountant and I'm qualified. You know, they're going to laugh at me if I say that I've got money problems. But I think, you know, the point here is that the debt charities, the debt counsellors out there are not there to judge. You know, they've seen it all before. You know, people that have got higher earnings are just as likely to get into debt as those with lower earnings. And it really is just about digging deep and thinking, okay, I don't need to be embarrassed. I can open up about this, and actually I'll feel much better if I do ask for that help and not bury my head in the sand.
So it shouldn't be seen as a stigma, particularly at the moment, right, when the world has changed and it has affected so many people. Yeah. So Simon, going back to sort of like the employer-employee relationship here, and you obviously talking to lots of businesses at the moment, do you think that what we're talking about here is actually driving interest from businesses for them to actually look at technology initiatives to try and address this problem with their employees? And you did a really good podcast a week or so ago, and one of the things that you said there, which I think ties into what you said just a little bit earlier, was that payroll has so much experience, but it's a back-end function, and actually something like Pay Captain helps to bring that expertise and that advice more to the front end, more to the users.
Well, yeah, I mean, companies are definitely understanding more now that the financial resilience and the financial well-being of their employees is something that they should really pay attention to and understand, because not just because of the negative effects it has on their workforce, but also the impact that has on the business as well. So, you know, whether that is about productivity or absenteeism, presenteeism, staff retention rates, staff engagement. So there's a sort of multiple reasons for an organisation to care about the financial well-being of their employees. And, you know, from The opportunity, I think, around payroll is because, yes, payroll people are typically very numerical. They're probably very good at managing their money themselves. So that's one of the reasons why I actually feel that financial well-being has got a role to play inside the payroll department. Again, of course, it's the part of the business that is actually transferring the money to employees. So why shouldn't that come with a little bit of support and guidance for the employees to embrace, if they want to, about how to manage their pay, about how to, make some savings, to understand their pension and so forth. And yes, the bit about it being a back office function is I think another opportunity. Payroll is a mission critical, essential part of any business to find the way to successfully and properly put money into the hands of their employees. But it doesn't have to just be that administrative process. Having a job and getting paid for it is one of life's most important things. So I feel that experience of receiving money, the payroll experience, should be better than just this back office administrative process that shoves money into people's accounts anonymously at the middle of the night and produces a pay slip that people don't look at or understand. Why can't the process of receiving your hard-earned cash be better, and to help you spend it wisely?
And I think that's really interesting, because without getting into too much of a product element here with pay captain, but pay captain does help you do that in terms of bring that back end function more to the fore. And it provides that more experiential process of, being paid and having that control. And I guess it will help payroll departments to provide that advice, but it takes on the burden of doing a lot of that. It's not meaning that they have a full-time job to then be an advisory service, and that's kind of where I guess technology can help, provide that sort of advice and guidance.
Yeah, and just on that point specifically, when we were talking earlier on about the sort of the courage you need to go and ask for another human being for advice, which of course is really important for when you need to do that, but sort of using technology to perhaps, as a sort of bit closer to home, and it's on your phone that you're using all the time, it's around your pay slip, and having the guidance right there, and also trying to have articles and support there that do explain this exact point, that there are these organizations you can go to and it is easy to do, and here's the phone number.
Yeah, fantastic. So I just want to stay with company-wide initiative just for a minute, because obviously this, a lot of our audience will be, organizations who are probably looking at maybe ways to try and support this going forward. So Sarah, you've mentioned, and I really like this saying, I think I heard it before, that you've mentioned that, employees kind of need to help their people understand their relationship with their own money. We might have covered this a little bit previously, but can you just tap into that a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our relationship with money is how we feel about it, but actually for most of us, that's determined way back with our life experiences, when we were growing up, and probably influenced by about how our parents dealt with money. It's very much like personal relationships, actually. Our relationship with money can be hugely personal and very complex. If I could just give you an example to bring that to life, if your parents saw money as something to enjoy, and they spent it, or they managed credit cards well, the chances are that you're going to be doing the same. But if money was a constant sort of argument in your house, or you had to miss out on school trips when you were young because there wasn't enough money to go around, then it might be that you've got those sort of inner bad feelings towards money. And if we've got those negative feelings with money, that's what then ends up resulting in us sort of burying our head in the sand and not wanting to think about it, which then causes that stress and anxiety. I guess the good news with the whole relationship bit is just like with people, it is possible to sort of build a good relationship with money and learn how to do that. And I think that's why promoting financial well-being isn't just about, oh, what extra benefits can we give somebody, or let's give them a bit more money. It's actually about helping people to open up about money, to talk about it, and really to recognise their own goals, and then giving them the information and the tools that they need to make that happen. And personally, I think that's best done through engagement and education, not just throwing more choice at them in terms of benefits.
I really like that. That's very interesting about this kind of nature versus nurture thing. And it didn't occur to me until you said it, actually. But my wife always says to me, oh, you spend and save money like your grandparents. My grandparents were very influential in my life. And so I'm very much, you don't spend what you don't earn. And that's almost pretty much against what like society is. And I guess that shaped me, right? That's what I grew up with, that very maybe traditional old fashioned way, but that has shaped me to the annoyance of my wife. And so, Simon, just going on that sort of idea of what Sarah said about giving people more the advice and guidance and giving them the tools to do that, I guess that's really how Pay Captain taps into that, right?
So yes, the education in the Pay Captain app is and also with support from the Money Advice Service, we have made it easier to consume this information. And then also to give people a bit more flexibility and a bit more control over how, when and where they receive their money. So a good example of this is about savings and setting up an automatic payment to your savings account, and possibly with your employer encouraging or incentivizing you to do the same in exactly the same way as they do with pension contributions, as an example. And I think that by giving people a little bit more flexibility to manage their pay in a way that will support their budget and the way they live their lives is a good thing. And we found that people are really wanting to have a lot more flexibility and control of how and when they receive their money from their employer.
And I think one of the examples that you mentioned, Simon, before is that ability that someone has control to even maybe provide a small portion of their salary to a charity, and it visibly manages that and shows them. And I suppose it's that feel-good factor of A, I'm controlling my money, and B, this is something that's good, and I can see that.
Yeah, payroll giving schemes have been around for a long time, but typically they're very paper-based, they're administrative, it's a low take-up. Probably a lot of employees in a company don't even know that they could do this. So yes, we've just tried to fix that, and it's nice and simple in the app and instant. Yeah,
okay, and again goes back, I guess, to what you said about it's not just a back-end function, a line item where you can see a little bit of your salary going to a charity. It's actually bringing it more to that employee experience in the solution. So thank you so much. We've got one more question, and I guess this is more just a bit of advice question, really, for people out there. We are still in the eye of the storm of this pandemic, and all of our focuses are on our own financial health and well-being, and our own well-being, actually. And obviously, as we kind of try and move forward in the next couple of months, and then hopefully even more forward to as we come out of the pandemic, the question that I have really for both of you is, what's the best advice that you'd give to people, bearing in mind that, we may have a recession, or it's highly likely, whether that's a long-term recession or a bounce back recession. But what would be the advice that you give to people to kind of try and protect themselves from the economic storm that might be happening? And maybe for you, Sarah, first.
Yeah, so many to choose from. But I think most importantly, if you haven't done it, it's really to take time to understand your budget. Write down the money you've got coming in every month versus the bills that you've got to pay. And I think sometimes putting it down on paper really highlights very clearly where you might be able to reduce costs and save money, particularly then to make sure that you can build up that rainy day fund, that sort of 3 to 6 months worth of savings that would cover your essential outgoings, if we carry on being in this pandemic, and unfortunately we're seeing rise in loss of jobs and things like that. If you need help to start getting that budget planner going, we've got a free version, a free template on the Better with Money website, but there's lots out there if you Google it. I do probably just want to re-emphasize as well that, if anybody is in the situation where they're feeling that the money is out of control or the debts are mounting up, then not to be embarrassed to ask for help. So many people are in the same position. You've got the charities like Step Change, Christians Against Poverty, Citizens Advice Bureau, and they've all got those qualified debt advisors that will help for free. And it doesn't really matter whether you're just £100 in debt or thousands of pounds. I think just reaching out and asking for help can be the weight off that shoulders. And I guess lastly, if I can have 2 more seconds, is just really for people to take advantage of the information and the planning tools that is available on the websites of the charities I've just mentioned, but also the Money Advice Service is a great place to go. And obviously we've got resources on our website too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. And Simon, I guess, if you're talking to businesses at the moment, about just better supporting their employees, and pay capting is a solution that can contribute to that. But if they were to do something tomorrow that would help, what would you advise them to do as an initiative? You may not have the answer, I appreciate, but.
Well, I do think the situation is different for every business, really. Solving the financial wellness challenge is there's not a one size fits all solution that every company can just adopt. I think the first really important thing is about understanding, researching and listening to your employees, and that could be some sort of focus group, or it could be some sort of survey, but really trying to learn about this potential challenge or this opportunity inside your business. And then I think that in a similar way, so was saying that from a sort of personal perspective, there are all sorts of initiatives and programs and things that you could do inside your business. That might mean some review of your own current pay and rewards processes. It could be a technology solution, could be an education solution, and bringing in Sarah and her team to come and do some education pieces. There is a lot that can be done, but the first thing is to understand it.
Yeah, and I like that, Simon, because what you're actually saying is that companies are really good at the moment, and rightly so, with making sure that employees' well-being is good, especially as they're not having the face-to-face experience, and they're researching that, and they're making sure they check in with their employees. I guess what this is more about is just extending that a bit further to the financial side as well. And just getting employees to talk about that in confidence, and allowing employees to learn and acknowledge that might be something that they could help with. And sometimes it's just to know that someone's listening or someone's thinking about how they can help you actually helps, right, in the short term.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. So it was a really fascinating topic, and we could talk about this for probably hours, but we can't. So one of the things I thought we'd finish on is a bit of a fun note. I understand that you wish to demonstrate something, Simon, or I've asked you to demonstrate something because I think it's great, because I love technology and gadgets, and I think this is fantastic. Do you want to give it a go?
Okay, well, this is an exclusive sneak peek being launched properly in February, but yeah, I'll go for it. Alexa, open Pay Captain.
Hello, Pay Captain is ready to help. Would you like the information about your last payslip?
Yes.
You were paid £200 on Thursday, 24th of December 2020.
What's my tax code?
Your tax code is 1250L. It was last updated by HMRC on 1st of November 2020.
Well, that's there we go. That's it. We're in the process of testing it right now. So actually, if anybody is interested in joining that testing program, I'd be very happy to invite them to the Alexa try it. But it possibly is a little bit gimmicky, but having voice pay slips and being able to interact in this way is the people that embrace technology in this way. I think it's another way that payroll is innovating and changing.
I absolutely agree. I think it's brilliant, and we have lots of those devices. I can't say the name because it will set them off, and I just think it helps to bring technology into the flow of your everyday life if you're tapped into that. And of course our younger generation are, and I don't talk about me, I talk about my children. Their apps is everything to them, and so are these devices, and I just think it's great that it brings that makes that so accessible in that format. So thank you. So listen, guys, thank you so much for taking part. As I say, it's been really, really interesting. And just to let our audience know that we have created a joint guide which can accompany this interview, which basically just provides some practical tips and advice on how you can help the financial well-being of your employees. And this will be available. This resource will be available to download on the link to this interview. So hopefully that's something that everyone can take away with them, and it might help in some way. So listen, guys, thank you so much again. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thanks.
And well and sane.
Thanks, Simon.
And really look forward to speaking with you soon. All right.
Take care. Thank
care.
you.
All the best. Bye.
Bye.